200 German soldiers, 5 young Americans, one house in a snow-covered French village, outnumbered 40-1. They didn't run, they stood and fought. This is the true story of Private First Class Locker Bud Gahs, a soldier in World War II, and the extraordinary stand he made during the battle for Schweighausen. World War II, France, January 25th, 1945. A small village called Schweighausen, nestled in the Alsace region near Strasbourg, becomes the setting of a brutal showdown. Bud Gahs was from Baltimore, just 19. Before the army, he delivered groceries, took night classes, tried to keep his family afloat. He didn't grow up thinking he'd be going to war. He signed up to the army thinking he'd be driving trucks, not shooting a rifle. Assigned to the 42nd Infantry, the Rainbow Division, Bud shipped out in late 1944. Hitler had just launched a surprise winter offensive in the Ardennes. While the world looked east, a second German assault opened up in the south, Operation Nordwind. It was Germany's final push on the Western Front, and Alsace was in its path. Gahs drove deeper into France, dodging wreckage and retreat.
I thought I'd be hauling food. Instead, I was hauling fear.
After 5 brutal days in the Vosges, they received an order to realign the lines, which was just a fancy way of saying retreat. They pulled into Schweighausen, half destroyed, half abandoned, but still standing. Bud and Bob Gardner, another driver, found shelter in an old brewery tower.
Dry floors, 3 stories high, best night's sleep we'd had in weeks.
Others curled into cellars, barns, broken attics, but sleep in wartime is never deep.
You don't sleep, you just listen with your nerves.
By noon the next day, the brewery tower was gone. German artillery reduced it to smoke and timber. Bud's truck was crippled by shrapnel, so he went to find Gardner. Then, he saw them.
About 200 guys coming out of the woods dressed in white sheets. We didn't know what to think until one of them shouted in German.
They weren't ghosts. They were elite German SS troops in snow camouflage, part of Operation Nordwind's surprise offensive to drive the Allies out of Alsace. The Americans weren't ready. They were scattered and unprepared. Some were still half asleep. Others were outside, stretching, eating, cleaning their rifles. Bud and Gardner didn't freeze, and they didn't run from the fight. They ran into the only intact house in Schweighausen. 2 stories, thick stone walls, and a clear view of the road. It wasn't a plan, it was instinct, and it's where they would make their stand.
We kicked in the door, ran in and started yelling, "Get up, they're here!"
Bud and Gardner roused 3 more soldiers, 5 total, no officers, no orders.
We didn't wait for orders, we just knew. This was our Alamo.
They scrambled upstairs, piled crates, boarded windows, flipped tables, dragged dressers against doorways, moved every scrap of furniture into place. They didn't need instructions, just a reason to survive. 5 men, 1 house, 1 shot at survival. Cruz, quiet, 20 years of age, kept a photo of his sister in his helmet. Doyle, 26, Ohio machinist, carried a broken cross and had a busted tooth. Finch, the youngest, never slept without his boots. Gardner, Bud's closest friend, and a driver like him. Finally, Bud, the grocery delivery boy from Baltimore.
I had a grease gun, $17 to make, but it was a beautiful weapon.
The first German charged up the stairs. Bud fired. Another tried dragging him back, and he fell too.
I wasn't aiming, just reacting.
Cruz took the window.
I got another one.
Tragically, a sniper's round found him. But his rifle never stopped. Someone else had picked it up. The Germans hit the house with everything. Grenades, flamethrowers, Panzerfaust. A grenade flew in. Gardner threw it back. It came back again, landing on a mattress.
It went off, feathers everywhere.
Smoke thickened, vision blurred. Still, they held the line.
We were down to 1 magazine each, on our M1s, so I dropped the empty clip loud, clink, then slam in an imaginary one. The Germans heard the ping, thought we were reloading. That's when we shot.
The squad faked injuries, faked orders, shifted rooms every few minutes, moved tables, redirected voices, used every inch of that house. Curtains hid movement, rugs dampened sound, cloths wrapped around boots muffled footsteps.
Fake a reload, fake a scream, anything to buy seconds, and seconds matter.
Gardner was hit in the ribs by shrapnel, but he kept firing. Every time someone moved, the men took a new corner. 4 men, infinite tricks, and an unbreakable will. At 4 p.m, the 79th Infantry Division broke through. The siege ended, and the house still stood.
The first German I shot had GI gear, A45, our sweater. He'd seen combat before. That made me feel a little better.
Bodies lay scattered in the yard. Some German soldiers had charged like they couldn't feel pain.
They weren't brave. They were high, pervitin, meth. That's what made them fearless.
Five went in, 4 came out. A truck driver turned rifleman, walked out of Schweighausen, changed forever. Years later, Bud returned to Schweighausen in 1982. The house, still there. The man inside refused to open the gate.
Maybe he remembered. Maybe he was a Nazi. Doesn't matter now.
Bud stood in the snow. Same village, same wind, same silence. He hadn't come to visit a building. He came to remember the brothers who fought alongside him and never left.
I just stood there, thought about the noise, the blood, the ones we left behind.
Private First Class Locker Bud Gahs was awarded the Bronze Star for his actions in Schweighausen on January 25, 1945. He never forgot the house, he never forgot the snow, and he never forgot what it cost to survive. Years later, when asked about that day, he didn't talk about medals. He talked about the men who fought beside him, about the fear they didn't show, and the silence that followed. He didn't see himself as a hero, just a driver who happened to be in the right house with the right men at the worst possible time. And together, they held.